Dear listeners, thank you for your incredible support in helping our channel grow. We're aiming for 1,000 subscribers, so please support us by subscribing and helping us reach this milestone. Now let's start the story. Flashback, Major M, undisclosed location. The chopper finally landed, and the base, Payne and the Rear Admiral was there to meet us. We snapped to attention. He looked at us and ordered, "At ease, SGTS." They relaxed, and he left me standing at attention. He questioned, "Are those the documents from the captain?" Sergeant Reynolds handed them to him and replied, "Yes, sir." He looked them over, then looked at us and ordered, "Major, Sergeant Reynolds and Sergeant Blaine, we need to have a little discussion about this in my office." He turned, and we followed him. I looked at the SGTS, and they looked as confused as I felt. We entered his office. He looked at his aide and ordered, "I don't want to be disturbed." He looked at the SGTS, glared at me, and gruffly ordered, "Take a seat." We sat. He read the papers again, glared more at me and questioned, "Major, do you have any idea what these papers say?" I honestly replied, "No, sir." He looked at the SGTS and continued, "What about the both of you?" Sergeant Reynolds answered, "No, sir." He slid one set of papers to me and one set to the SGTS. I started reading. Oh shit. Flashback, Jack, undisclosed location. I was shocked. The top set was documentation for awarding Ben and me the Navy Cross for saving the Major and his men. I flipped to the next set and fought back a laugh. It was a severe reprimand for Major M concerning the way he treated us on the sub. I flipped to the final set and about shit my pants. They were transfer requests for Ben and I to the Navy with a recommendation for the SEALs. Ben was getting antsy, so I gave him a hand signal to cool it. Flashback, Ben, undisclosed location. Shit. What the hell? I don't want to join the Navy even if I become a SEAL. I like the Marines. I like being recon. And I sure as hell don't want to lose Jack as my spotter. I want to say something, but I notice as Jack gives me the hand signal to keep quiet. Yeah, I'll keep quiet until I think he's going to sell us down the river. If that happens, I don't care about consequences. I'm going to raise hell. Flashback, Major M, undisclosed location. I couldn't believe it. That damn sub-captain was a dead man if I ever got the chance. I looked at the Rear Admiral, but he grinned at me and questioned, "Well, Major, what do you have to say?" I prepared myself and answered, "Permission to speak freely, sir?" He answered, "Within reason. But you need to know that I totally trust the captain." Shit, this wasn't going to be easy. I got ready to say something when Sergeant Reynolds interrupted, "Sir, seeing as this concerns Sergeant Blaine and myself, might I say something first?" The Rear Admiral directed his gaze towards Sergeant Reynolds and answered, "Speak freely, SGT." Flashback, Jack, undisclosed location. Shit. There was no way in hell I was going to trust the Major to handle this. Ben and I would end up in the Navy, and I sure as hell didn't want to become a SEAL. Those scumsuckers worked too hard and were too crazy. I had a chance to figure this out, so I spoke up. "Sirs, I do feel that what the captain witnessed was clouded by the fact the Major had been incapacitated and wasn't in total command of his faculties." The Rear Admiral looked at the Major and questioned, "Major, is that true?" Major M lied through his teeth, "Sir, my team had been repeatedly rendered unconscious with some sort of stun device. That's why the Lance Corporal is currently in your infirmary." I would agree with the SGTS analysis of the situation. I was not in total control of my faculties when I was giving the SGTS a ration. The Rear Admiral looked at all of us and asked, "Sergeant Blaine, do you agree with this?" I worried that Ben was going to screw things up, so I began sending him hand signals like crazy, which he promptly ignored. Flashback, Ben, undisclosed location. This was going to work out great. Jack was being a pain in the butt mother hen, but I was going to make sure that we were taken care of. I replied, "Sir, I would agree with Sergeant Reynolds and Major M. However, there are a few other things I'd like to mention for the record." Flashback, Major M, undisclosed location. I just relaxed because Sergeant Reynolds had covered my butt, but I wondered what in the hell it was going to cost me. Then what the hell? Sergeant Blaine had other things to mention? Flashback, Jack, undisclosed location. Screw me. Ben's going to screw things up. I sent him more hand signals, but he ignored them. The Rear Admiral said, "Sergeant Blaine, you and Sergeant Reynolds have a hell of a reputation with the Navy, and you have the freedom to tell me anything." Ben opened his mouth and said, "Sir, I wasn't born yesterday, and I know with the nature of our mission, there is no way we can receive the Navy Cross. However, the mission was vital for our country, and we gladly performed it to the best of our abilities, even with the minimal support from our commanding officer." The Rear Admiral glared at the Major and questioned, "Would you care to elaborate?" Ben answered, "Yes, sir, I would. Initially, our mission was strictly recon, but as with most missions, the parameters changed, and we were asked to eliminate targets of opportunity. While I do feel the Major had an exit strategy in place for the recon mission, he did not have a new one in place when the mission changed." Flashback, Major M, undisclosed location. Son of a bitch, Sergeant Blaine is screwing with me. The Rear Admiral looked at me and questioned, Major, is Sergeant Blaine telling the truth? I responded, Sir, our initial exit strategy was to use helicopters to remove both the SGTS from the area. However, the introduction of an unknown vehicle removed that option from the table. The Rear Admiral questioned, Major, just what sort of vehicle could change those plans? I hated to tell him, but I needed to save my bacon, so I answered, Sir, we were never able to fully identify it, but we do know that by itself it destroyed 4 Hind helicopters and assisted in destroying a convoy, 2 MiGs, and another 4 Hinds. The General sent me and my team to the country to obtain further information on the vehicle. We were lucky that our SOS was answered by your submarine, otherwise we probably would have been killed. He leaned back, thought for a moment, and asked, Major, who would have killed you? Damn it all. Once again, I had to give him more information than I wanted to. I complied. Sir, there were 2 foreign agents operating in the country. They had made us their primary target. He looked skeptical and asked, 2 foreign agents against 3 Marines? I find it hard to believe that they were a threat. Flashback, Ben, undisclosed location. I had my fun with the Major, but it was time to save his butt. I interrupted, Sir, I might be able to provide some information on this subject. The Rear Admiral looked at me, smiled, and said, Well, Sergeant, tell me about it. I answered, Sir, they are probably the 2 most deadly agents in the world, and the Major is lucky to have escaped from them. Sergeant Reynolds and I spent most of our time avoiding them until your submarine showed up to rescue us. He smiled and asked, Sergeant Blaine and Sergeant Reynolds, do you 2 want to join the Navy and become SEALs? I looked at Jack and answered, Sir, not to be disrespectful, but Jack and I really love what we do in the Marines. Yes, being a SEAL would be a great honor for the both of us, but then our missions would change. We like working for the Major. When he's in full control of his faculties, he's an exemplary commander. If I may be so bold, I'd like to make a suggestion. The Rear Admiral smiled. Sergeant, I really like you. You speak the truth. Suggest away. I smile and say, Sir, I would like to suggest that you do not submit the paperwork, especially the reprimand for our commanding officer, for at least 1 month. This will give Sergeant Reynolds and I time to discuss if we really would like to transfer to the Navy. He smiled and I couldn't believe what he said next. Flashback, Major M, undisclosed location. Damn it. The Rear Admiral said, Sergeant, I will do you one better than that. I will make sure to hold on to this for 1 year. Then he gives me a shit-eating grin and continues, just in case you have any issues whatsoever. Now, since everyone is satisfied, I really wasn't, but he didn't give a shit. You are all dismissed. We stood, saluted, and left the office. I got outside, looked at the SGTS, and said, What the hell just happened? Sergeant Blaine boldly stated, I would simply call it provision of job security. I was pissed as hell, but didn't dare do anything about it. Flashback, Jack, undisclosed location. Holy shit. Ben pulled a rabbit out of his hat, and we had the Major over more than a barrel. He was over a chasm that would swallow his butt whole and leave nothing. Damn, did I ever train him well. I looked at the Major and questioned, So I heard something about Russia? He looked at me, and I wondered if I'd screwed up. Present, Samantha, at Bob's country bunker. Liz immediately agrees to the terms of Stacy Summers' interview. We have to take her and her horse trailer to the closest large city, and I get an exclusive with her. Boy, do I have questions to ask her. I nod at Frank. He turns on the camera, and I begin. Present, Liz, at the cabin, finally the same timeline as Ben and Stacy. I sit beside Yentz and hold her hand for support. She has a bowl of her favorite chocolate cookies in her lap. Sharik is on the other side of her, and she has her dreaded foam brick to throw at the TV. My fiancé, Bernie, sits on the other side of me and holds my other hand. Yeah, we're engaged, so live with it. Mira, Ira, Alexei, Jack, Masha, and Ivan are all in the room too. Samantha starts her interview. Present, Samantha, at Bob's country bunker. I start. Hello, America. This is Samantha Cohen reporting from Bob's country bunker in Texas for the Truth Network. Tonight we are excited to bring you an exclusive interview with the billionaire and formerly missing heiress Stacy Summers. Tell me, Miss Summers, how are you? She replies, Excuse me, I think you mean millionaire. I correct her, No, Miss Summers, since you've been missing, your businesses have done very well. You are now a billionaire and one of the richest women in the world. She looks a little startled, catches herself, and comments, Well, my grandmama always did make wise investments. Thank you for asking. I am doing well considering everything I've been through. I continue with another question. Would you care to elaborate on your ordeals? She gets a determined look on her face and states, Yes, I would like to clear the air about some things that have happened. Many people think I disappeared because I couldn't stand the responsibility. That's a huge fallacy. I left because my parents wanted to get me committed to a mental institution. I ask, why would they want to do that? She answers, Because they wanted the inheritance from my grandmama all for themselves. You see, they had already used up their inheritance and then wanted mine. Then they hired a couple of goons to try to kill me. I query, obviously they failed, what happened? Stacy answers, well, I'm alive, aren't I? Yes, Ben Blaine rescued me from their evil clutches. I try to get more information. Was that the couple that were found dead at a bus stop? She smiles and evades my question perfectly. I don't know what you're talking about. All I know is Ben rescued me. Present. Liz, at the cabin. Jens throws the foam brick at the TV, nails Stacy, and begins to yell. He should have let you die, you horrible woman. She almost said bitch, but Ivan and Masha were in the room. Sharik runs and fetches the brick. I say, Jens, shush. We can't hear the interview. Samantha continues. Can you tell me more about your time with Ben Blaine? Stacy smiles again. Samantha, I already told you I will not discuss my time with Ben with you. However, I will say he's the most wonderful man in the world. Jens yells at the TV, damn right, you female dog, and much better than you deserve. Sharik begins to bark and I scold her. Jens, there might be important information that she gives us, so shush. We missed the question because of Jens and Sharik's ranting, and here's Stacy answer. Samantha, I don't understand your question. Samantha repeats, well, we have heard that you and Ben Blaine were all over Texas and waged your own private war against the banditos. Is this true? Stacy smiles and asserts, if you continue to attempt to link Ben Blaine with me, then this interview is over. We watch as Stacy begins to look a little sick and asks, Samantha, will you please turn off the camera for a moment? I wonder what the hell is going on. It seems like it takes forever, and when the camera finally comes back on and Stacy apologizes, sorry about that, Samantha, but I'm pregnant, and we never get to hear the rest because Jens goes ballistic. She throws the glass bowl with her cookies at the TV. It smashes the screen, smoke boils out of the innards. Jens jumps up and yells, I'm going to kill both their butts. Ivan yells, Goggy butts, which pisses Masha off, and all hell breaks loose. Present. Samantha, at Bob's country bunker. I reply and then ask for confirmation. That's fine, Stacy. America doesn't need to see you get sick. You told me you're pregnant because you were violently attacked. Stacy gets a hard look in her eyes and declares, that's right. The same man that killed my parents also assaulted me, and now I'm pregnant as a result of the assault. I comment, Stacy, that seems improbable. She says, oh yeah, well look at this. She takes off her tactical vest, turns her back to the camera, and removes her shirt. Everyone can see the letters GUI crudely branded into her back. She puts her shirt back on, looks at me and states, I showed you that brand because I want you to know I'm going to use part of my money to set up a clinic for women that have been abused. I follow with another question. How will your clinic be any different than the hundreds of other clinics which already do this? She smirks and has a ready reply, because my clinic will concentrate on teaching the women what Ben Blaine taught me, how to defend yourself and prevent the attack in the first place, and to fight like hell when they are attacked. I wonder, won't that make some women want to take revenge? She smiles and agrees. Yes, it certainly will, and I would say it's about time. Present. Liz, at the cabin, finally the same timeline as Ben and Stacy. It seems that Samantha already knew about Stacy being pregnant, but she didn't bother to tell me. Had I known, I sure wouldn't have let Jens watch this interview. Jens is more angry than I've ever seen her. She's ranting and raving about killing them all and letting God sort them out. Masha is scolding the hell out of her and Ivan, and things are totally out of control. Suddenly we all hear a huge horn, which scares the hell out of everyone as Jack yells, everyone shut up and sit down. Jens begins to complain and Jack pulls out the biggest rubber band rifle I've ever seen and threatens, I spent a little time in the workshop and whipped up this bad boy in response to your lame pistol. Now do you want to be the first one I test it on? Jen angrily flops on the couch, but keeps quiet. Masha complains, Jack? Ivan. He looks at her and says, Masha, whether we like it or not, Ivan is going to hear swear words. If not here, he will learn them at school. I know you think you need to scold him every time he uses one, but right now it's just become another game for him to see if he can get you upset. So my lovely wife, you sit down too. She sits down. Jack considers things and orders. Let's get Samantha on the horn, and let's see why the hell she didn't break this news to us in private. Ivan giggles and yells, hell. Jack honks the horn and scares the crap out of Ivan. Ivan begins to cry while Jack states, that's how you handle that. I begin to call Sam while thinking we're going to be hearing Jack's big horn a hell of a lot. Present. Samantha, at Bob's country bunker. My phone is buzzing in my pocket like crazy, but I'm not going to answer it. This interview is too important. I continue. So you're advocating that women who are attacked respond with violence toward their attacker. Stacy grins and explains, that's right. For too long we've been told to not resist, because if you resist, it will only be worse. I was so sedated I couldn't resist, and look what it got me, and if your reporting is accurate, my parents were both treated the same way. Did not resisting save them, or keep me from that vile scumsucker. I attempt to argue, but this goes directly against what the police. Stacy interrupts. Hell yes it does. And it's about time that when a assaulter looks at a woman he will think 2 or 3 times and wonder if she's going to kick his butt or castrate him. I know the men you travel with are IDF, and I'm willing to bet we could find some out-of-work female IDF troops who would love to train women. Things are a little out of control, so I decide to get them back in control. Stacy, how did it make you feel when you found out the gorilla killed Guy? She looks at me like I'm crazy, then answers, to be truthful, I was upset because I didn't get to do it myself. But you know what upset me even more? I didn't like it when she asked me a question, but I answered, no, please tell America. She gives me a hard look and says, I was more upset that your team killed George the gorilla. Did you know he figured out what Guy did to me and was trying to keep others from being hurt? I backpedal, no. All we saw was a large gorilla that just killed a man. Stacy gave me a dirty look and declared, George the gorilla was more a real man than Guy Fawkes ever was. He spoke excellent sign language and helped rescue Ben and me a couple times. Listen, I'm tired now and this interview is over. I try to save the interview by saying, thank you Stacy Summers for the interview. America has been concerned about your disappearance and it's great to have you back. America, we will be transporting Stacy and her 2 horses to the nearest large city and she's agreed to more interviews on the trip. This is Samantha Cohen signing off. I get ready to give her hell when my phone rings again. I see it's Liz and figure I'm in big trouble. I answer the phone and Liz says, why didn't you tell us Ben knocked up Stacy? I answer, Liz, didn't you see the whole interview? She was assaulted by Guy Fawkes. But while I've got you on the phone, you're probably not going to like the whole interview since Stacy's upset that we killed the gorilla. Stacy yelled, you're damn right I'm upset, and I'm going to raise some hell about it. Liz says, Sam, do what you can to calm her down and be confident we have the tapes that show you all did the right thing. Now we have a major emergency here that I need to deal with. Present. Liz, at the cabin, finally the same timeline as Ben and Stacy. I hang up the phone, stand up, and announce. Yince, if you hadn't gone nuts and destroyed the TV, you would have heard that Guy Fawkes assaulted Stacy. So it's his baby and not Ben's. I've had my fill of everyone tonight, and we're going to get some sleep. The room looks stunned as I storm out of the room, dragging Bernie along. Present. Ben, somewhere in Texas. I turn and walk away before they can see my tears. Yes, Stacy is a pain in the butt, but I've gotten used to her being around, and I am going to miss her. I get a short distance away, hear a hell of a noise behind me, turn and see Wojciech chasing me while carrying both sets of saddlebags. He runs up to me, puts them on the ground, stands up and salutes. I smile at him and say, Wojciech, you've spent your whole life locked in a cage doing tricks for everyone else and living the life they want you to live. It's about damn time you live for yourself. I reach up, remove his collar, fasten it to my pack, and order, go on now. Take all the food in these saddlebags, be a normal bear, and do all the normal bear things like shitting in the woods. He runs up, gives me a hell of a hug, grabs the saddlebags, and heads off. I hit the road, begin to walk and ponder how much Wojciech's old life and my life were the same. Yet it always seemed like someone was telling me what to do or having me perform tricks for them. I decide that bullshit is going to end right now. I am going to do what I want to do. I continue walking while hoping to flag down a car or a truck. I round a bend in the road, and what the hell? Flashback, Jack, undisclosed base. We'd just finished a great, for us, meeting with the base rear admiral where the major had his butt majorly chewed. We walked outside. I looked at the major and questioned, so I heard something about Russia? He looked at me, and I wondered if I screwed up when he said, yeah, I hear Siberia is lovely this time of the year. I was sure Ben was crazy because he began to laugh. The major glared at him and ordered, Sergeant Blaine, what's so damn funny about Siberia? He smiled and replied, well, sir, unless you've greatly changed the mission you had planned, the Spetsnaz aren't in Siberia, so I know Jack, and I won't be going there. That really got the major fired up. Flashback, Major M, undisclosed base. I stopped, turned to Sergeant Blaine, and demanded, just how in the hell do you know what my mission plan is for you and Sergeant Reynolds in Russia? He gave me that irritating smile of his and answered, because Mira told me all about it when we were at the spy school. I was shocked. Someone had leaked the information, and I had a good idea that someone was the Lance Corporal in the infirmary. I needed to go have a serious talk with him because he was going to be reassigned to a place worse than Siberia. I looked at the 2 SGTS and threatened, this isn't over by a long shot. Sergeant Reynolds, you and Sergeant Blaine arranged transportation for the 4 of us to get back to Washington, D.C. Sergeant Reynolds questioned, sir, don't you mean 5? I stated, no, the Lance Corporal isn't coming back with us. I turned and left to go interrogate the L.CPL. Flashback, Ben, undisclosed base. I looked at Jack. He slapped me on the back and said, damn, that was well played in the Rear Admiral's office. And then you handed the major his butt again out here. I had other concerns and voiced them. Jack, what's going on with the Lance Corporal, and why isn't he going back to DC? Jack said, I sure as hell don't know, but that's the Major's problem, not ours. Now let's go see if we can get off this rock, because I can't wait to get to Russia. By the way, just what is our mission? I laughed. Jack, I don't know. I just took a wild guess it had something to do with the Spetsnaz, because it was the only thing that made sense. Why else would you send a sniper and spotter to Russia unless it was to spy on the competition? He smiled at me, and I knew exactly what he was thinking. Flashback, Jack, undisclosed base. Damn, did I ever teach Ben right. I was damn proud of him because he was totally right. Why else send a sniper and spotter to Russia? I stated, well, I hope we can find a plane that's leaving this rock soon. I can't wait to change out of these piece of shit Iraqi uniforms because everybody's giving us the stink eye. Ben teased, well, that might be because you stink. And we could always get you a cute little sailor outfit. I gave him a dirty look. Hell no. Those transfer papers are as close to becoming a sailor as I ever want to get. Ben decided, Jack, you find us a plane while I go do something else. It was my turn to tease. Okay, but don't get lost. The Major will be pissed if we have to come looking for you. He bitched, Jack, you know I never get lost. Then he took off. I headed to the airfield to find us a ride back to DC and debated about giving Anna a quick call to see if she was busy. Flashback, Jack, undisclosed base, a few hours later. Damn it. I'd done everything I could, tried every damn trick in the book, but it still didn't work. Let me explain. The Rear Admiral's private jet was headed back for some upgrades, but I couldn't get us on it. Instead, we were flying on AC-130. I hoped like hell the Major hadn't heard about the Rear Admiral's jet, or he was going to lay into me. To top it all off, Ben was MIA since he took off and wasn't back yet. Oh shit. Here was the Major and his trained bulldog, the other sergeant. Flashback, Major M, undisclosed base. I walked towards Sergeant Reynolds, and immediately I could tell he was trying to hide something. I remarked to my sergeant, this should be interesting. I reached Sergeant Reynolds and questioned, are we ready to go? He waffled slightly, yes, sir. I have transportation for us. I grinned. I hope it's the Rear Admiral's jet. He stated, sir, I tried my best, but... I interrupted, Sergeant Reynolds, there had better not be any buts. Now why couldn't we hitch a ride on the Rear Admiral's jet? He looked past me, and I wondered who was coming up behind me. I turned to see it was Sergeant Blaine. He had changed out of his Iraqi uniform, had on BDUs, and was accompanied by a female Navy commander. We snapped to attention and saluted. She questioned, Sergeant Blaine, are these the other Marines that want to fly on my plane? He replied, yes, sir, they are. She returned the salute and said, as you were, you're welcome to fly on my plane to the mainland. However, you need to know Sergeant Blaine will be on the flight deck with me. Do you have any issues with this? I questioned, sir. I didn't know he was flight qualified. She grinned at him and said, oh, he's qualified all right. And I understood what she really meant. She continued, well, come on, boys. Let's not keep me waiting. She turned and slinked toward the Rear Admiral's jet with us, right behind her. Sergeant Blaine dropped back by Sergeant Reynolds, and they began to whisper. Flashback, Ben, undisclosed base. I dropped back by Jack, and he angrily whispered, thanks a hell of a lot. I questioned, what the hell has your panties in a bunch? He stated, you know how much I hate this damn uniform. Plus the Major was giving me hell about not being on the Rear Admiral's jet. It would have been nice if you had told me about this. I answered, Jack, calm down. I have a set of BDUs on the jet for you, and I was busy negotiating with Amelia so we could ride on the Rear Admiral's jet. He grinned and requested confirmation. Was that horizontal negotiations? I smiled. Yeah, I guess I had to take one for the team. He elbowed me. That's bullshit. She's built like a brick shit house. I shot him down. Yeah, but she's an officer and used to giving orders. He grinned. Yeah, I can only imagine how terrible that was. Flashback, Jack, undisclosed base. Well, and I don't mean 3 holes in the ground. It looked like the old Ben was back and up to his old tricks. Only this time I sure as hell didn't mind. He got me out of a real jam with the Major. I just hoped his shenanigans with Commander Earhart didn't end with a plane crash. Then it struck me, and I began to laugh. The Major asked, Sergeant Reynolds, is something funny? I walked up beside him and whispered, sir, didn't you see the CDR's last name? He thought as I continued to chuckle. The commander turned and said, would you Marines care to share the joke with me? The Major said, no, sir. I lied, what joke, sir? Then Ben piped up, Amelia, I think they're laughing about your name. I could have killed him. She grinned at him and ordered, Sergeant Blaine beside me. He damn near ran up beside her, and she continued, well, Sergeant Blaine, what do you think their punishment should be? Perhaps we'll make them take the C-130. He grinned at us and said, Amelia, I mean, sir, I think they are starting to look a little weak to me. She gave us an evil grin and said, Sergeant, I like your style, and I do believe you're right. All right, Marines, drop and give me 50. Damn him. I'm going to find some way to get even. The only good thing about it was I kicked the major and his trained bulldogs' butts. The commander asked, "Now does anyone else have anything else they'd like to say about my name?" Ben piped up again. "I think it's a great name, especially since you're actually related to her." She grinned. "Sergeant, are you sure you don't want to join the Navy and become my co-pilot?" He looked at us, grinned, and stated, "Well, Amelia, I mean, sir, it's a tempting offer, but I'm happy where I am." She stated, "Well, that's the Navy's loss. Come on, I want to get airborne." She turned, and we followed her. Flashback, Major M, Rear Admiral's jet. I thought, drop and give me 50, the bitch. Some women officers. No, most women officers had a chip on their shoulders the size of a telephone pole. I sure wouldn't want to be Sergeant Blaine because she was going to call all the shots. Then again, he deserved it because of the shit he pulled in the Rear Admiral's office. But what was it with Sergeant Blaine and the Navy? It seemed like he got a long way to well with them. It was the whole SEAL rescue he did. Now he's some sort of living hero to all of them. He'd better watch his step, or I will transfer his butt to the Navy. Now that would be funny. We arrived at the jet, boarded, and my anger at Sergeant Blaine lessened. This was one nice jet, and beat the hell out of a C-130. Now, how to deal with the stranglehold the two SGTs thought they had on me. Flashback, Jack, Rear Admiral's jet. Damn, now this was traveling in style. I found the BDUs headed to the head, changed, and made sure to separate myself from the major and his trained bulldog. I took the rearmost seats, kicked back, fell asleep, and had a hell of a strange dream about Russia. Flashback, Mira and Ira, undisclosed base. We exfiltrated post-haste like a scalded dog's tail between its legs. We had not only failed our mission, we had disobeyed orders, and now it was time to reimburse the flautist. The beast was coming to inflict severe punishment on both of us. As we began to unload our equipment, Mira opened her storage locker, picked up a device, and questioned, "Ira, is this what I cognate it to be?" I acquired it from her hands, studied it, and answered, "Mira, this is an American field communication device. How did it collocate in your storage locker?" I attempted to actuate it, but it was inoperable. Mira smiled and answered, "My Sergeant Blaine ascertained if our mission totally failed, we would receive the harshest punishment. He must have given it to us." The beast walked up and declared, "Girls, I am very upset with both of you." We both cowered. I held the device toward him and offered, "Sir, the mission was not a total failure. This is an American communication device, which we were able to acquire." He snatched it from my hands, tried to actuate it, and stated, "Well, it doesn't operate, but that's okay. Our engineers will love to get a look at it. So my girls, I'm glad your mission wasn't a total failure, however, there is still the matter of not following orders." Flashback, Mira and Ira, undisclosed base, hours later. I comforted Ira as she awakened. The beast's punishment was exceptionally cruel and unusually long. I was the primary target, so I had already revived and commenced tending my wounds. My sister Ira precipitated something to increase his ire because he was even more brutal with her. He tossed her in our cell and yelled, "If she ever does that again, I will kill her." I collocated to her side and began my ministrations to her. She awakened and I questioned, "Irinka, what aggravated the beast so?" She smiled and stated, "Marika." I applied my dental units to his tool. I held her and scolded, "Irinka, someday he will terminate you." She laughed, "Not until his tool heals." I added, "Irinka, you are playing a dangerous game of feline and rodent." When the door opened, I was concerned the beast had returned to terminate my sister. Then I heard, "Present, Byron, at Houston Intercontinental Airport." I look at Tom and question, "You know what this means?" He responds, "Hell yes. I need to call Jennifer." He takes out a throwaway phone and dials Jennifer. "Present, Jens, at the cabin. I destroyed the TV after thinking Ben knocked up Stacy and feel like hell." I look at everyone, swallow my pride, and apologize. "Gee guys, I'm sorry for overreacting. I expect to be blasted," but Masha simply comments, "Jennifer, your outburst of anger was understandable, however it was also caused by poor judgment. I could have informed you that your Ben did not impregnate Stacy Summers. You really must learn to control your emotions before they injure you or someone else." I prepare to answer when my phone rings. I look at the caller ID and inform everyone, "It's Tom. He might have a lead on Megan." I answer the call, "Okay, Tom, what did you find?" Tom replies, "Jennifer, Megan fled the country to Venezuela, and they don't have an extradition treaty with the USA." I hear Byron in the background correct him, "Tom, they do have an extradition treaty, but the current regime ignores it." Tom adds, "I guess we've hit a dead end." I say, "Hold on for a moment. Let me run this past Jack and the team." I look at Jack and Masha and ask, "It looks like Megan is in Venezuela. What do you think we should do?" Jack says, "Have them go after her. After what she did, I wouldn't leave her running around loose." Masha adds, "Yes, Ms. Donaldson. She is like a putrefying wound which needs to be lanced." That was exactly the way I felt. even if it should have been a festering sore that needs to be drained. So I order, Tom and Byron, you're not going to like this, but you two need to go after her. Masha queries, Ms. Donaldson, might I have a word with Tom before you hang up? I order, Tom, hold on, Masha wants to talk to you. I hand the phone to Masha. Present, Masha, at the cabin. I acquire the mobile phone from Ms. Donaldson, move away from everyone else for privacy and question, Thomas, to which city did she arrive? He replies, Caracas. I continue my interrogation. Do you still have connections in the DEA? There is a short pause and he says, Masha, I might. But why do you ask? I answer, contact them and see if they will infiltrate you into Aruba. From there you can take a ship into Caracas. I would also make sure they supply you with weapons. Tom answers, do you think we will need them? I reply, you will most certainly need them because she will have found undesirable associates who would not think twice about eliminating you. Tom answers, gee thanks. I reply, you are most welcome. I disconnect the call, walk over, hand the phone to Ms. Donaldson, look at my husband Jack and mention, I think I need to spend a short amount of time on the computer. Present, Jack, at the cabin. I and everyone else heard enough of Masha's conversation to confirm that she's not a soccer mom, if there was any question left. But hell, I don't care anymore. She's hot as hell, loves me from the bottom of her heart, gave me a great son, and is carrying my child. I'm sure as hell not going to complain that she was or is a spy because she's never asked me anything out of the ordinary. We head to the room and I question, are you going to make sure Tom and Byron have some help? She smiles at me and confirms, most certainly my husband. It is good that things are finally out in the open. She gets on the computer, I put Ivan to bed, she sends some emails, then comes to bed and well, like I said before, I sure don't kiss and tell. Present, Jens, at the cabin. I look at the twins and Alexei and say, Sharik and I are tired. We're going off to bed. Alexei answers, yes, Ms. Donaldson, this has been a most entertaining evening, however. We also need to retire. Sharik and I head to our room and crawl into bed. We are almost asleep when I hear a hell of a racket. Present, Mira, Ira, and Alexei, at the cabin. We retire to our room and Alexei questions, Mira, did Ms. Donaldson forget that Mr. Blaine is unable to father children? I decide this will be an excellent teaching tool, so I respond, Alexei, Ms. Donaldson allowed her emotions to control her actions, and when that happens, Ira finishes, she careens out of control. This occasionally happens to us. I was thankful for Ira including both of us, but I still correct, Alexei, Ira is supporting me by telling you we both have occasional emotional issues. However, that is an incorrect association. I still have emotional attachments to Ben Blaine, which sometimes create unfortunate issues. Ira adds, yes, these issues have been acknowledged to become problematic in the past. Alexei questions, Mira, did you destroy any televisions? I look at Ira and blush, and Ira advises, Alexei, no television appliances were terminated. However, Mira did terminate some miscellaneous equipment with her lower bipedal unit, and we did experience several physical altercations. Alexei grows wide-eyed and states, I am not sure I ever want to fall in love. Ira explains, Alexei, outside of the love within our family, I have never experienced such an emotion. I know it is my duty to respond, Alexei, not because of your looks, but because of your intelligence. You will have many women interested in you. It is inevitable that you will experience love. He questions, why would women be more interested in me because of my intelligence than my looks? I assume that women are always attracted to the best-looking men. I giggle and elucidate, Alexei, you do not fathom women. Young women who are in high school are certainly more concerned about a man's appearance. However, they realize, as they mature, that an intelligent man will provide a more stable and rewarding home. Ira adds, and also be aware that attractive women can be a most formidable opponent. Many times the men we terminated did not notice the weapon in our hand until it was past time for action. I concur, yes, Alexei, beautiful women are a trap that should be avoided at all costs. He looks wide-eyed at both of us and states, I am glad I have two beautiful sisters who will protect me, and I promise that I will help to keep my sister Mira from throwing bowls of cookies at the television. I do have one question I would like to proffer if possible. Ira states, Alexei, we are a family, and you may proffer any question. He looks at me, and then Ira and asks, Mira, what do you think Mr. Blaine's response will be to you providing him with a child? I smile at him and expound, Ben Blaine is an honorable man. I do hope that he will perform the proper task. He looks at Ira and continues, my sister Ira, I know the original plan called for you to also carry his child. Ira interrupts, Alexei, that plan has changed because I do not want to steal Myra's lightning. He corrects, you mean Myra's thunder. I look at Ira and question, my sister, this was not our agreement. She smiles and states, I modified the aforementioned agreement. I became upset. Irinka, you did not consult me first. She rudely replied, no, I most certainly did not. I rise for battle. She rises to meet me, and the Alexei surprises us when he hits us both with a pillow and declares, "I am the man of this family, and I order you to stop this fight." I look at Ira and grin. Then we both acquire pillows and the battle begins. Present, Zarika, Yasmin, and Evelyn, at the cabin. Life has become hell for me, but not as bad as the hell I faced with Ben. We are all sharing one room. Yasmin, the mean Evelyn lady, and me. No matter what I do, the Evelyn lady doesn't like me, and she calls me a tomboy because I have modeled myself after the Yints lady. It is most curious to me that the Evelyn lady does not like her own daughter. This is strange, and I do not understand it. She treats Yasmin like a little princess while I am treated like food for the dog. The Evelyn lady is brushing Yasmin's hair and says, "We need to brush this 100 times each night." Yasmin responds, "So I pretty look for Ben?" Evelyn answers, "Yes, I think you and Ben would make a good couple." I am sick of hearing this, so I say, "Yasmin, Ben will never make you his wife." She yells, "Oh yeah, make me a sandwich slave bitch." I grin and continue. He doesn't like spoiled little princesses. He likes strong women like the Yints lady and me. She has not been practicing her English like I have, and says, "Up yours crack ho." I grin more widely and tease. He loves the Yints lady, and she is a strong woman, not a spoiled bratty princess like you. Soon I will be even stronger than the Yints lady, then he will only love me. She yells, "Zarika the zit-faced." No one can love that face. I stick out my tongue and respond, "He picked me before he picked you. You tricked him into taking you for his second wife." Evelyn yells, "Girls behave." Yasmin jumps up from the bed, shakes the brush at me and threatens, "I'm gonna stick this where the moon don't shine." I laugh. "You can't even speak English. You are such a villager." Her anger overcomes her, and she launches herself toward me. Present, Maria, at the cabin. Damn, I miss Linus. I've become used to sleeping and other things with him, and well, my battery-operated boyfriend doesn't feel nearly as good. In fact, it's not even a close second. I'm wearing his dirty t-shirts for the smell, hugging the hell out of his pillow, and trying to get to sleep when I hear a hell of a noise. Shit, what's going on now? I crawl out of bed ready to kick some butt. Present, Linus, Matt, and Jim, somewhere in Texas. I look at Matt and Jim and ask, "How in the hell are we supposed to find Ben again?" Jim asks again, "We haven't found him the first time yet." Matt complains, "Don't ask me. I barely had enough time to say goodbye to Molly, my wife." Jim thinks and suggests, "I think we need to head to Bob's country bunker and do a little recon work." I still can't believe he wasn't there. I reply, "Yeah, I'm damn sure he was there, and that's why they were able to hold off the banditos for so long. But if that's the case, then how are we going to get any information on him?" Matt adds, "Yeah, if he's saved there, but they're not going to give him up." Jim offers, "Since I'm the only single one here, let me handle this." Present, Ben, somewhere in Texas. I round the corner of the road, and there's just enough light that I can see the whole damn road is blocked. Now what the hell is going on? I move off to the side of the road, closer to the roadblock, carefully listen and hear. I'm getting tired of waiting out here. When's a damn truck gonna show? Just what I thought. It's a bunch of scumsuckers taking advantage of the current situation to hijack a semi. Bob had mentioned to me this was going on and figured it was the Mexicans, but it looks like these scumsuckers are some good old boys. I think about this some, and my blood begins to boil. I really can't stand seeing Americans taking advantage of each other, especially since Bob told me the drivers were usually killed. Most of the drivers were just normal guys trying to make a decent living for their families. Well, it was time these good old boys got a taste of their own medicine. I recon the hell out of the area and finally find a couple of trucks about a couple miles behind me. I knew they had to be there so they could block the escape route to the rear. They need to neutralize first, but need to go silently so their buddies don't get a chance to leave. I hide my main pack, take my tactical pack and the M16 Bob gave me, and head toward the trucks behind me. Oh, they're easy to find and they don't seem that concerned because they are smoking and the red glow of their butts light up the night like angry fireflies. I slip up to the truck on the right side of the road, pull my K-bar and tactical tomahawk, and, well, dead men tell no tales. I'm careful as hell when I cross the road, sneak up on the second truck, and find it's even easier to take them out. It's a couple that are screwing like bunnies, but since she's as bad as the rest of them, she's also history. I get ready to head to the roadblock when I hear a noise. Shit, it's a truck coming. I haul up the road to stop him before he reaches the roadblock. There's only one problem. How the hell does one man stop a semi in the middle of a deserted road when there are bandit gangs around? I can't lay in the middle of the road. He'd run me over. I know because I would sure as hell do the same if I was in his shoes. I run toward the truck and get a hopefully brilliant idea. Flashback, Jack, on the way to Russia. Now this totally sucked. After a nice as hell trip back stateside, during which Ben took many for the team, everything turned ugly. We had just touched down when the major became a major prick. He gave us our briefing, Ben was remarkably accurate in his WAG of the situation. Then we barely had time to clean up, get into uniform and grab our gear when we were headed to Russia. Only this time it was on a commercial airliner. I squirmed in my seat, tried to get comfortable, and complained, "This is worse than flying on a C-130. Ben was distracted by a cute flight attendant and replied, "Oh, I don't know. Things could be interesting." I elbowed him and said, "Look, you don't have to take this one for the team." He smiled and volunteered, "Oh, I wouldn't mind, but I am a little tired." I teased, "Yeah, I wonder why?" We could hear her yelling all the way in the back of the rear admiral's plane. The way she kept shouting, "Oh God," I thought she was having a religious experience. Ben grinned. "Yes, she sure was noisy. My ears are still a little sore." I teased some more. "Was that because she using them to steer your mouth where she wanted it?" He punched me in the arm and said, "Jack, you know I don't kiss and tell. Now I'm tired and I'm going to sleep." He tried his best to get comfortable, but the scumsucker behind us kicked his seat when he reclined it. He stood up, gave the guy an evil eye, and I thought the guy was going to shit his pants. It wasn't long till he fell asleep, and I thought about the dream of Russia I had on the rear admiral's plane. It was a strange one and bothered me. Flashback, Major M, undisclosed base. I couldn't wait to get Sergeant Reynolds and Sergeant Blaine out of my hair. I never did determine a way to get out of the bind they had me in, so I figured the next best thing was to ship there, but to Russia. Then I could have some peace and quiet and figure out how to undo what they'd done. I made a quick stop by my office, grabbed something that caught my eye, then headed to see the old man. I got to his office and his aide said, "Take a seat, Major. He will be with you when he can." I thought, oh great, it's never good when he makes someone wait. I was almost napping, damn Sergeant Blaine and the bitch that made so much noise on the flight I couldn't get to sleep. When the aide announced, "The general will see you now," I steeled myself, entered his office, and stood at attention. The scumsucker ignored me for about 5 minutes, finally looked up and said, "Take a seat, Major, and tell me how in the hell you lost Baskerville, but found the 2 missing and presumed dead SGTS. I replied, "Sir, we were ambushed by some enemy agents and were lucky to make it out of there with our lives." Then I went on to describe a greatly glorified version of the truth. If the general knew it was only the Sedankina bitches, he would have chewed but even more, and finished with, "It looks like Baskerville was a total loss." He gave me the evil eye and questioned, "Major, explain yourself." I slid the classified folder across his desk and stated, "Sir, you can see from this series of images that the person piloting Baskerville finally lost control of it, and it crashed into the ocean." He perused the images, closed the folder, and questioned, "Should we mount a recovery operation?" The last thing I wanted to do was head back to that godforsaken country, so I truthfully stated, "Sir, that would be ill-advised. As you remember, the depth of the water in that location is such that we would need a submersible and its support ship to salvage Baskerville." He looked at me and questioned, "So Baskerville is lost?" I responded, "Yes, sir, totally lost." He continued, "Major, I'm not happy with this mission. However, the recovery of the 2 SGTS makes up for the loss of Baskerville. I do expect a full written report on this, including the whereabouts of the Lance Corporal. You are dismissed." I stood, felt lucky to have dodged several bullets, turned and left the office. Now to make sure the Lance Corporal was so far underground no one would ever find him again. Flashback, Mira and Ira, undisclosed base. The beast had terribly tortured us. My sister Ira was still recovering when the door opened, and I anticipated his return. Instead, a lady unknown to us stepped into the room and questioned, "Miranda, how are you and your sister Irina?" I had not oculated this person before, so I warily replied, "We will survive. Might I inquire as to your identity?" She turned on the light, and I observed intense anger in her eyes and grew concerned. I stopped my ministrations to Ira and rose to confront her. She shook her head and stated, "He truly is an animal for what he's done to both of you. Kostya was injured when the American communication device, which you brought back, self-destructed." I became extremely concerned and declared, "That was not something we anticipated or executed." She smiled and replied, "Do not worry, we are all aware of that." Apparently, it was designed in such a manner that multiple attempts to operate the device triggered an explosive device housed within the unit. Ira unwisely laughed and said, "Too bad he was not terminated." I shushed her, but it was too late. I was incredibly concerned until the new lady shared Ira's mirth and added, "Yes, that would have made both your lives much happier. Now let's get both of you cleaned up before your next mission." I repeated my earlier question, "Might I inquire as to your identity?" She smiled, "Yes, I am your temporary handler, and my name is Maria, but I prefer to be called Masha." She came over and assisted me with Ira. Then she helped us into the showers where I assisted Ira. The water could not wash off the shame, and it only increased the pain of the injuries. Ira looked at me and smiled. "Marinka, the beast is not impervious to injury." I returned her smile and answered, "Yes, Irinka. If he could be fooled by the American communications device then. She grinned and finished, he can be fooled by other devices. We stepped out of the shower, dried off, and found the new cloths which Masha provided. I looked at our garments and grinned. Irinka, we are headed back to Israel. She complained, Marinka, why? There is no further instruction which we need from them. I replied, it is far from the beast, and he cannot comfortably travel to that region. Ira spat on the floor and stated, not since he killed that little girl with his training tortures. Masha came in and said, Miranda and Irina, shall we discuss your mission in Israel? She turned and traversed out of the room while we followed her. Flashback, Masha, undisclosed base. I was angry that Kostia had inflicted such indignities on the Sedankina girls. He was an animal and deserved to die a long and painful death. But first I needed to make sure the Sedankina girls were out of the way of harm, and I knew there was no place better for them than back in Israel. He knew if he stepped foot in that country, even with diplomatic immunity, he was not safe. Kostia at first blamed them for his injuries until our technicians informed him that he should have brought the American communication device directly to them instead of showing it off to all his friends. Now he was bathing in scalding water for losing the device. His injuries would keep him in the hospital for many months, so I volunteered to become the Sedankina twins' handler. It was also good for my upcoming mission because I needed to make sure that Miranda did not try to find Ben Blaine. That would have been disastrous. Present, Tom, at Houston Intercontinental Airport. Byron looks at me and asks, so when are we headed back to the cabin and Mabel's cooking? I shake my head and reply, weren't you listening? We're not headed back. They want us to go after Megan. Byron looks sheepish and states, I was distracted because I think we're being followed and didn't hear anything you said. Wait, you mean we're supposed to actually enter that damn country? I know if Byron thinks we're being followed, then we are in all likelihood being followed. I begin to question, we're being followed? Who the hell are they and where the hell are they? He coolly answers, present, Byron, at Houston Intercontinental Airport. I answer Tom, yeah, there's a couple of suits that I've seen one too many times looking in our direction. Now, are you telling me we're going to Venezuela? Tom replies, shit. We need to shake those suits. And hell yes, we're going to Venezuela. I answer, how about we use the normal bathroom ruse on them, apprehend them, and see who the hell they are? Tom grins, I like that idea even better than grabbing a cup of coffee. So we head to the nearest bathroom, prepare and wait. Damn, we've waited in this bathroom for what seems like forever and the suits never followed us in. Tom finally says, well, Byron, either you were wrong this time or the suits have gotten smarter. I complain, wrong my butt. I know when we're being followed. Let's get out of here and see if we can figure out what happened. We head out the door, recon the area, but the suits are gone. Then we're both stunned as this lovely, sexy blonde lady who looks like a supermodel slinks toward us, walks right up to Tom, grabs him, and gives him a hell of a kiss on the lips. At first he fights, then he begins to get into it. Present, Tom, at Houston Intercontinental Airport. Damn, I never knew the women in Houston were this friendly. If I had, I would have moved down here years ago. A sexy as hell woman walks up to me, doesn't say a word, and begins to play tonsil hockey with me. At first I struggle, then I begin to enjoy it. Finally I hear Byron clear his throat, so I pull away. She grins at me and announces with a slight European accent, I am Inga. Masha asked me to come here and assist the two of you. Byron holds out his hand and says, pleased to meet you, Inga. Are you the one that took care of the suits who were following us? She hugs Byron and in the traditional European fashion kisses him on both cheeks. Then answers, yes, Byron. They were from a 3-letter branch of your government and would have presented some problems for our upcoming trip. I question, our upcoming trip? I thought it was only for Byron and me and that I needed to arrange the trip. She gives us a devastating smile and replies, I am going to assist you and your arrangement is no longer necessary. I have already arranged the flight for us. Now we must leave because time is deteriorating. She turns and sexily slinks away, in a way that only sexy as hell women know how to walk. My eyes are riveted on her, but when Byron leans over and interrupts my fantasies, Tom, are you sure about this? I look at him and admit, Byron, I wish we had a woman with looks like this on our team. She could walk right up to the target and eliminate them without them suspecting a thing. She turns, grins, and confirms, Tom, you are correct and would be wise to follow your own guidance. You never should have let me approach you in the manner which I did. If you were my target, you would have been terminated. As it is, I liberated your wallet. I pat my pockets, and sure enough, it's gone. She holds it up, I snatch it out of her hands, and Byron begins to laugh. Damn, Tom, you must be getting old. I counter, oh yeah? I would have loved to see you resist, Inga. She drops back, takes my arm, and says, Tom, Byron is much more impervious to my feminine charms, so that is why I chose you. You were the easier target. However, Byron should also check for his wallet. Byron begins to pat his pockets and gripes, hell, my wallet's gone too. Inga giggles, hold up his wallet and challenges. Byron, sometimes you are too easily distracted. He grabs his wallet and complains, damn sneaky women. Inga gives us another smile and replies, thank you for the compliment. Inga leads us away, and I wonder just what the hell we've gotten ourselves into. Present. Jens, at the cabin. There's a hell of a noise in the hallway. It sounds like a fight, so I decide I need to get up and see what's going on. I walk out into the hallway, see Maria looking at me and question, what the hell is all that noise? She confirms my suspicion when she says, it sounds like a cat fight in your mom and the girls' room. I add, but something doesn't sound quite right. Maria suggests, why don't I go see what's going on? She heads down the hallway, opens the door, begins to laugh, and says, Jens, you need to come and see this. I get to the room and almost bust a gut holding back my laughter. Mabel is in there and is shaking her spoon at Evelyn and Yasmin. Zarika has blood on her face and is crying. Mabel demands, just who do you think you are making so much noise and waking me out of a good dream? I should wallop both of you. Evelyn challenges, I'd love to see you try to hit me with that spoon. It wasn't the wisest thing Evelyn had ever said or done. Mabel heads toward Evelyn, but Yasmin steps in her way and threatens, leave my mother alone, Nubian cooking slave, and go make me a sandwich, bitch. That was even less wise than Evelyn's comment. Mabel spouts, I'll teach you to be mouthy with me. Then she begins to wallop Yasmin with the spoon. Yasmin soon wises up and runs into the bathroom for protection. Mabel looks at Evelyn and growls, now it's your turn. Evelyn drops back in a classic Oriental defensive stance and Maria questions, Jens, does your mom know martial arts? I giggle, not at all. She's so going to get walloped. Maria continues, aren't you worried Evelyn will get hurt? I giggle and answer, Maria, that's your problem. I turn, leave the room, and head back to my bedroom. Yeah, it's nice being the one in charge. Present, Maria, at the cabin. What the hell? When did this bullshit become my problem? I decide to take a page out of Jens' playbook, pull out an air horn, and let go with a long blast. It gets their attention, so I look at them and order, that's enough of this bullshit. Now Mabel, tell me what has you so fired up, since it's normal for Yasmin and Zarika to fight all the time. Mabel answers, if it was just the girls fighting, I wouldn't be so upset. But the young mouthy girl was holding Zarika while this woman was beating her. Now where I come from, that's called child abuse. I look at Zarika and question, is Mabel telling the truth? Zarika continues to cry and just nods her head. I glare at Evelyn and demand, where I come from, that's child abuse. You have 10 minutes to pack and get the hell out of here before I kick your butt, and I promise you won't like it. Evelyn complains, but this is my daughter's house. You can't throw me out. Glenn, do something about this. I turn and see Glenn behind me and wonder if I've overstepped my boundaries. He glares at her and says, Evelyn, damn it. I'm doing something now that I should have done years ago. You already screwed up Jennifer's life, and I'm not going to let you mess up these two girls' lives. Forget packing your clothes, because where I'm taking you, they provide the clothes for you. Evelyn nags, Glenn, like hell you're taking me out of here. If stairs could kill, Evelyn would die 100 times over. A smile rises at the corner of Glenn's mouth, and he states, Evelyn, you have two choices. You can come with me, and we will get you into a clinic, or you can stay here, and I will call the police and report the child abuse so you can go to jail. Evelyn thinks for about a minute and finally concedes. Okay, Glenn, have it your way, but you're making a big mistake. Glenn escorts Evelyn out of the room and requests, please tell Jennifer what I'm doing and that I will call her tomorrow. When they're gone, I look at Mabel and she comments, how in the world did that nice man end up with a wife like her? I shake my head. I certainly don't understand it, and what amazes me even more is how my princess boss grew up in that family and remained relatively normal. Mabel immediately questions, Princess Boss? I laugh. Yeah, that's my pet name for Jens. But don't ever let her hear you calling her that. She hates being called a princess and will kick your butt. Will you please take care of getting Zarika cleaned up and Yasmin out of the bathroom and into bed? I need to go and report all this to Jens. Mabel replies, I'm going to let Zarika sleep in my room tonight so they don't fight anymore. You go and tell your princess boss what happened. I head out the door and think, I need a drink. Hell, I need a whole bottle. I sure hope Linus isn't having as much trouble as I am. I pass by the door of the Twisted Sisters' room and hear a hell of a noise coming from their room. Now what the hell is going on? I pound on the door and shout, get the hell to sleep. And thankfully, the noise stops. Present, Jim, Matt, and Linus, Bob's country bunker. I've been chatting up one of the 304s at the bar, buying her drinks, and while she wasn't looking, switching drinks with her because I could tell the bartender was watering hers down. I ask her, tell me some more about this Russian man and his sister. She giggles and says, I'd love to, but it's a big secret. Now I'm getting somewhere, so I add some more BS to the pile. Hell, I'm as good as anyone at keeping a secret. You can tell me. She leans over, I lean in close, and I suddenly feel a hand on my shoulder. I start to jump, but I can't move. I turn and see it's Bob, and one of the biggest damn bouncers I've ever seen in my life. Bob announces, "Sorry, partner, but we's gonna ask you to leave." One look at the bouncer tells me it's not going to be wise to argue with him. I nod my head and say, "Well, sir, thank you for letting me in to have a drink or two." They escort me to the door. I walk outside, thankful to escape with my life, and head toward our truck. I get to the truck, hop inside, and Linus grills me. "Well, Jim, what did you find out?" I shake my head and hold up a hand with 2 fingers almost touching. Damn, I was this close to finding out when Bob threw me out of the place. But I can tell you this, I'm more sure than ever it was Ben and Stacy that saved this place. Come on, let's get out of here. Present, Ben, somewhere in Texas. I figure the only way I'm going to stop this semi is if I do something crazy. Anything else will get me run over. I remember a scene from the movie Blazing Saddles as I draw my pistol and put it to the side of my head. Yeah, I'm going to hold myself hostage and hope like hell it works like it did in the movie. And thank God it does. The semi begins to slow. I set my pistol and rifle on the ground and raise my hands while he drives closer, then stops about 10 yards away from me. The driver yells, "Are you crazy? What the hell do you want?" Keeping my hands raised, I walk to the driver's door and explain, "There's a group of men blocking the road ahead just waiting for a truck like yours. If you give me about 15 minutes, I'll take care of them for you." He questions, "And how much is this going to cost me?" I shake my head. "How about a ride to the next town?" He says, "So you're doing this out of the goodness of your own heart?" I laugh. Hell no. There's not much goodness left in my black heart. I'm doing this for myself. I'm sick and damn tired of seeing Americans taking advantage of other Americans. The trucker guesses, "You sound like you spent some time in the military." I reply, "Yeah, a bit of time, but I don't want to talk about it. Now give me about 15 minutes to do the voodoo I do so well." I pick up my weapons and get ready to take out the trash. Present, Linus, Matt, and Jim, somewhere in Texas. We're glad to escape Bob's country bunker with our lives. After Jim goes in and gets the owner all riled up toward us, they watch the truck as we leave the honky-tonk and head south. Jim says, "Damn, that was like opening up a beehive." Matt adds, "Yeah, Jim, but I do think you're right about Ben and Stacy being the Russians. Otherwise, why would they be so protective of them?" I'm driving, see something unusual, and caution, "Guys, weapons ready." And that's like opening up a beehive of our own in the truck as Matt and Jim scramble for their rifles. Matt asks, "What's going on, Linus?" I reply, "Well, there's a couple of vehicles beside the road, and it doesn't feel right. It could be an ambush." I stop on the shoulder of the road, about 100 yards from the vehicles, grab my rifle, and order, "Jim, you jump out and take the right flank, making sure to stay in the bushes. Matt, once he's in position, we'll both exit, and I'll keep you covered until you cross the road and take the left flank. Then we will advance together." Jim does as ordered. Once I see he's in position, I nod and Matt, and I jump out of the car. I crouch behind the car door, not that it would really stop a bullet if someone fired at me. Matt is in position, and we slowly advance toward the vehicles. We get close, and Jim announces, "Guys, there are 3 bodies here." Matt adds, "I have 4 more here." I order, "Okay, you 2 stand watch while I examine the bodies." I flip on my tactical light, scan the bodies, and state, "Well, guys, I think we just missed Ben or someone like him. These guys have all been shot in the head." Matt states, "I think they had some sort of roadblock set up." Jim concurs, "Yeah, I'd heard something like this was happening down here. But if it was Ben, where did he go, and why did he bother to kill these guys? That's the $64 million question." I order, "Okay, I think we've seen all we need to see. Let's get the hell out of here and see if we can catch the person that did this." We head back to the truck, and I order, "Jim, you drive while I phone home." We take off. I pull out my mobile phone and curse, "Damn, I don't have any signal here." Present, Stacy, in the Truth Network news van. Well, my plan to get the news team off Ben's back worked. But I sure didn't count on missing Ben as much as I do. I'd spent my whole life traveling with Grandmama and having one adventure after another, but none of them came close to the adventure I had with Ben. Oh yeah, there were some bad times I thought we were going to die, and then there was my stupid mistake with the fat guy, but the short time I spent with Ben could not be compared with anything else I'd done. And now that it's over, life seems empty. A tear trickles down my cheek. Samantha interrupts my thoughts. "Stacy, I was wondering if we could interview you some more." I wipe my nose, look at her, and smile. "Sure, but let me freshen my makeup. Yeah, I need to prolong this trip to give Ben as much time as possible. My last gift to a great man." I add, "Samantha, if you don't mind, I would like to stop, check on the horses, and do the interview outside of the van." She looks at Frank and asks, "Honey, you think we can find a place to pull over?" He answers, "Yeah, it would be good to take a little break." He then orders the driver to find someplace to stop. We pull into a deserted gas station, and Emmanuel orders, "You 2 stay in the van until we secure the area." So I watch as the guys fly out of the van and secure the area, but watching them reminds me of Ben. I question Samantha, you guys didn't by any chance take my cell phone out of my pack? She answers, present, Samantha, in the Truth Network news van. I answer Stacy, no, we did look through your pack and saw the cell phone, but we didn't take it. I watch as Stacy gets a strange look on her face. I wish I knew her better. I do know I'm not going to let her take control of my interview this time. Frank gives me a signal, and I say, it looks like things are clear so we can get out of the van now. Stacy takes her golden rifle as we exit the van. Then she checks it and her revolvers and questions, your team looks like they're IDF? I boast, they're not just IDF, they're Mossad. She nods her head and says, yeah, that's what Ben thought when he saw them. I see my opening and immediately question, Stacy, what was it like traveling with Ben? She gives me a dirty look and answers, Samantha, I've already told you any discussion about Ben is off the table. I smile and reply, sorry about that. You seem sad, and I thought since we weren't recording you, you might want to talk about it. We head to the trailer as Stacy responds, Samantha, I may be blonde, but I'm sure as hell not stupid. I know why you're trying to find out about Ben. You're hoping that I will give you clues so your boss Jennifer Donaldson can find him. She needs to get her head out of the sand and realize that Ben doesn't want to be found. I counter, Stacy, my boss and Liz Morgan. She interrupts, I hate that about her. Yahoo is best friends with Jennifer Donaldson, who just happens to be one of the owners of the Truth Network. Like I said before, I'm not stupid. I think to myself, yeah, you aren't stupid, but sooner or later you're going to mess up, and when you do, I'm going to be there to catch you. Present, Stacy, in the Truth Network news van. Yeah, my plan to delay the news team is going perfectly. I sure the hell hope Ben's long gone by now. Samantha asks, if the horses are fine, could we start the interview? I smile at her and ask, first I need to visit the bushes. She adds, well, make sure you take one of the guys to stand watch. I pat my rifle and state, I can take care of myself, and head toward the bushes. Frank questions, where are you going? I reply, damn. Can't a woman take a pee without announcing it to the whole world? I find a good-looking bush, begin my business when I hear something behind me. I twist around and suddenly understand way too well the phrase about getting caught with your pants down. Flashback, Jack, on the way to Russia. I woke up, looked around and Ben was gone. Damn him. I bet he was taking one for the team with that cute flight attendant. But I was glad he was gone because I needed to tap a kidney. I unbuckled, headed toward the back of the plane and saw Ben holding court with a bevy of beautiful flight attendants. I approached and interrupted, so here you are. Ben grinned and replied, ladies, this is my spotter and best friend Jack. He taught me more about being a Marine than anyone else. I hope you treat him as well as you all treated me. I wasn't exactly sure what Ben meant until one of the flight attendants came up to me and offered, with a Russian accent, let me explain the uses of the lavatory. Flashback, Ben, on the way to Russia. It was all I could do to keep from laughing my butt off as Svetlana took Jack to the head, and he was going to get, well, I sure don't kiss and tell. Yeah, after working my way through several of the lovely Russian and Ukrainian flight attendants, I was sort of a hero. I sure as hell hope Jack didn't tarnish my image. There was a hell of a banging noise coming from the now occupied lavatory, and I was proud of Jack. It sounded like he was taking one for the team. I looked at the lovely flight attendants and lied. Well, I'm going to head back to my seat and sleep since you all have worn me out. Now Jackie can go for hours, so I think your group should keep him busy. They giggled, and I left, satisfied and happy to have some time to myself to sleep. I wasn't kidding. Between the commander and 3 of the flight attendants, I was more than tired. I was damn tired. I hit my seat, reclined it, and this time the scumsucker behind me didn't give me any grief and fell into a deep, satisfied sleep. Flashback, Jack, on the way to Russia. Damn, what the hell did Ben tell these women? I finished with one, thought I was done when another one came and took her place. Where the hell is Viagra when I need it? Wait, no. Yeah, with what she's doing, I don't need any damn Viagra. Flashback, Major M, undisclosed base. I sat in my office and released a big sigh of relief. I was lucky as hell to still have my intact after facing the pain in the rear admiral and the bigger pain in the butt, old man. I knew things weren't resolved yet, especially with the rear admiral, but now I had time to obfuscate things. In addition, Sergeant Blaine and Sergeant Reynolds were out of sight and out of mind, and that joke of a lance corporal was permanently taken care of. I put my hands behind my head, leaned back in my chair, and thought about the hell that I know we went through for the last few days. Something strange stuck in my head. I grabbed my phone and called for my sergeant. Yeah, I liked the sergeant. He was loyal, followed orders, and had a good head on his shoulders, for a sergeant anyway. Why couldn't Sergeant Blaine and Sergeant Reynolds be more like him? I chuckled under my breath and admitted the truth. It was because they were the ones I really needed. I could find 100 SGTS, like my lapdog sergeant, but Sergeant Reynolds, and especially Sergeant Blaine, Well, they were one of a kind. My sergeant came into my office. I smiled at him and ordered, "It's time to do our debriefing." He took the chair and said, "Sir, I've been thinking about this and something really bothers me." When he said something bothered him, it was almost always significant. I leaned forward in my chair and ordered, "Continue." When he related his assumptions, I about shit my pants. Damn, if he's right then. Flashback, Jack, on the way to Russia. I stumbled back to my seat, barely able to walk. Those women they were. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. What the hell did Ben tell them about me? I got to our row of seats and kicked Ben. He woke up, gave me his shit-eating grin, and had the audacity to ask, "Did you have a good time?" I complained, "Get the hell up and let me into my seat." "And what the hell did you tell those women?" He obeyed while grinning at me and stated, "Oh, I might have told them you taught me all I know." And he finished with a chuckle. I whined, "Don't you ever do that to me again." He gave me his Mr. Innocent look and questioned, "Jack, what the hell do you mean?" I collapsed into my seat. The scumsucker behind me kicked the hell out of my seat, but I was too damn tired to do anything about it, and answered, "Ben, one of these days I'm going to—" He grinned and interrupted, "Are you telling me you didn't enjoy yourself?" I continued to whine. "Well, yeah, but it was too much." He laughed. "I thought you told me it was never too much." I complained, "Forget about it. I'm going to sleep." I turned toward the window and tried to ignore the pain. I didn't know if my manhood would ever be the same again. It was sore as hell. Flashback, Masha, undisclosed base. I smiled as I watched the Sedankina twins plane leave for Israel. When I informed them of their upcoming missions, I could see the joy in their eyes. Yes, they were going to be very happy and very busy while I had to go and perform the odious duty which my superiors deemed necessary. Yes, I was not happy as I boarded the aircraft for Moscow. Why me? And why him? Flashback, Ira and Mira, on the way to Israel. Mira could not maintain stillness, which annoyed me greatly. So I scolded, "Marinka, desist behaving as if you have emmets in your nether garments." She responded, "Irinka, I beg your indulgence. Do you not realize the opportunity we have been afforded?" I waved my hand. "Marinka, I think you are benignly interpreting our mission to a greater extent than is prudent." She instructed, "Irinka, conceptually you are in error. The mission Masha has awarded us may be likened to those of our favorite saints." I glanced at her with amazement. "Marinka, do you perceive a correlation with this mission and Saint Asliabia and Saint Percivet?" She smiled and calmly declared, "Irinka, most certainly. Just like our revered heroes, we have been sent to stand against the rising threat." I pondered the certainty in her words, and my excitement for the mission quickly matched my sister's. Yes, we would face this growing force, just like the great warriors before us. This was more than just a mission. It was a righteous cause, a sacred duty. We would be, yes, we would become the embodiment of unwavering justice. Present, Samantha, transporting Stacy. I impatiently tap my foot and wait for Stacy to finish her business in the bushes. She has been one annoying as hell bitch to interview. I thought by now I had learned all the tricks and had control of the interviews, but Stacy keeps throwing me curves and sending me off balance. My loving husband Frank takes my hand and whispers, "Honey, don't worry. You're doing fine and we can edit out the parts you don't like." I complain back in a whisper, "Like hell I am fine. She's driving me crazy. It's almost like—" I stop and then a smile slowly creeps across my face. Frank gives me a puzzled look, almost like what? I grin, "Honey, I can't believe I didn't see this the first time. Stacy is purposely delaying us." Frank questions, "Why would she do that?" I grin, "Because she's buying time for Ben to escape. I bet we just missed Ben at Bob's country bunker." Frank returns my grin and offers, "Sam, I've got an idea." He just gets ready to describe his plan when all hell breaks loose in the bushes where Stacy is. Present, Stacy, in the bushes. What a hell of a time for that damn tiger to show up. I'm peeing and my pants are down around my ankles. Thank God Ben taught me about keeping my head on a swivel, about situational awareness, and keeping my weapons in my hand. Otherwise I'd be this tiger's next meal. I stand up, raise Ben's golden rifle, cock the hammer, fire and yell, "AMF, you sneaky scumsucker." Then I operate the lever and continue to fire. Present, Samantha, transporting Stacy. We hear a gun fire and Stacy yells, "AMF, you sneaky scumsucker." And it certainly lights a fire under everyone. We charge the bushes as the rifle fire continues. We break into a little clearing. There's Stacy with her pants down around her ankles, and a beautiful tiger is dead, right at her feet. She hears us approaching, turns her rifle toward us, and Emmanuel yells, "Stacy, don't fire, it's the news team." She lowers the rifle, then we hear a hell of a noise behind us. Present, Ben, somewhere in Texas. I take care of the ambushing scumsuckers, move the vehicles and bodies to the side of the road, head back to the semi, and the driver says, "Damn, it sounded like a war out there." Hop in, and I'll gladly take you to the next town. I grimace and answer, I need a minute or two so I don't bleed in your nice truck. He looks concerned and says, what the hell? Did they shoot you? I'm taking off my tactical rig to get to the wound and explain, one of the scum-suckers got in a lucky shot and hit my body armor. I'm not sure what the hell he was firing, but it shattered the ceramic plate, and some of the pieces cut me up a little. He jumps out of the truck with a first aid kit in his hand and offers, let me help. Taking off tactical gear is like peeling an onion. There's layer after layer after layer. We take off the body armor. I look at the ceramic plate and swear, son of a bitch. That's the last good plate I have. I take off my shirt, then my t-shirt. The driver shines a light on me and says, damn, that must hurt. I start pulling out the slivers of ceramic plate and say, I've had worse. Then I chuckle and add, besides, chicks dig the scars. He laughs and says, you really are one crazy mother. By the way, my name is Stinky Pete. I ask Stinky Pete, how did you get that name? He lets out a belly laugh. Well, when I first started driving, I drove a pig hauler. Those are filthy damn animals. To this day, I can't stand to eat pork. I laugh, not even bacon? He shakes his head, no, not even bacon. And damn, I miss it. I'm done with the field dressing and start putting my gear back on. I leave off the carrier for the body armor, so Stinky Pete asks, you ain't gonna wear your carrier? I laugh. There's no need to since that was my last plate. I guess I will need to just be more careful from now on. He laughs and heads to the rear of the truck. Well, that might not be the case. Let me show you what I have in the back of my truck. He has my curiosity up, so I look at the truck as we walk past, and it says, Armored Mobility. That's a name I've never heard of. We get to the back of the truck, and I question what he's doing. You're allowed to open the truck? He answers, hell yes. They have some demo models, and told me to hand them out. I can't think of anyone better than you to give them to. Stinky Pete opens up the back and states, this is one hell of a company. They're on the cutting edge of body armor. I'm hauling this load to Dallas for their police force. He jumps in the trailer, rummages around, and comes out with 6 pieces of what looks like black plastic. He closes up the trailer door and tosses me a plate. I fumble around with it, drop it, and it doesn't break like a ceramic plate would. I give him the evil eye and search for the truth. You're telling me this piece of plastic is better than a ceramic plate? He laughs, shit yes, it's polymer that's steel-backed and will take multiple hits. I don't know about this shit because it's so damn light. It must only weigh 6 or 7 pounds. I declare, well, I'm going to shoot one of these to see what happens. I lean one up against a rock, step back to 50 feet, and fire twice. The damn plate is so light it takes off. I run over to where I thought it landed, finally find it, look at it, and can see the bullet holes in the front, but nothing in the back. Damn, this shit just might make me invincible. I slip one plate in the front of the carrier, one plate in the back, and throw it back on as I walk towards Stinky Pete. He looks anxious, so I question, what's wrong? He answers, well, we really should get going before someone else shows up. I agree and state, I'm headed toward Austin, so if you would drop me at a truck stop before Dallas, I would appreciate it. He answers, sure thing. How about I buy you dinner? There's a great truck stop at the exit just before Dallas. I respond, Pete, I did this for me and not for you. He interrupts, that's Stinky Pete, and we both know you saved my bacon. He chuckles and continues, so the least I can do is buy you some bacon. I wave my hand and say, as you wish. We climb into the cab of the truck, I settle down and promptly fall asleep, but they are back in my dreams. Present, Maria, at the cabin. I dread telling my princess boss what has happened. I love working for her, but damn it, she's as volatile as I am. I head to her room, knock on the door and ask, Jens, can I come in? I hear her reply, did you take care of the frickin' situation? Damn her, she's in a bitchy mood again. I answer, well, sort of. She smart mouths, well then you can sort of come in. Now what the hell does that mean? Can I come in or not? I decide 2 can be bitchy, so I shout, well, the hell with this. I'm going to catch some Z's. Jens yells back, sounds damn fine to me. I start walking down the hallway, and I'm met by Masha, and she doesn't look happy. What the hell is her problem? Present, Masha, at the cabin. I hear Maria yelling in the hallway and using profanity. With her sneaking into my purse, and what she's doing now, it is the telephone pole that broke the camel's hump. I look at Jack and say, honey, I will be right back. I need to deal with some trash. He gives me a strange look and questions, what trash? I will do it for you. I kiss him and explain, no, this is personal trash that I have to take care of. Then I enter the hallway and confront Maria. I state, Maria, what did I say would happen to the next person that used profanity around my son? She did not take me seriously and said, listen, I'm goddamn tired and just want to go to sleep. Her comment inflames me and I complain, you would use the Lord's name in vain? You are nothing but a vulgar female dog. Present, Maria, at the cabin. What the hell? Did Masha just call me a vulgar bitch? I order, sister, you had better get out of my way. I'm not in any mood for your bullshit. I'm shocked because her hand moves so fast I don't even see it. She slaps the crap out of my face and threatens, "Don't you ever use those words around me, or I will kick your fat derriere, you uncouth puta." That's the final straw. No one calls me a puta and gets away with it. If she wants a fight, I'm going to kick her damn Russian princess butt. I drop back into a defensive position and taunt, "Oh yeah? At least I didn't marry a wrinkled old fart just to get a green card." I am totally focused on her. She tenses her muscles for the attack and prepares to spring. I also get ready to spring when someone grabs me from behind, and I notice that the old fart Jack has grabbed Masha. I fight and yell, "Let me the hell go." Masha yells, "Jack, let me go." My princess boss orders, "Maria, get control of yourself. I will not have you fighting a pregnant woman in my house." I stop fighting and question, "Masha is pregnant?" Jack replies, "She sure as hell is, and if you do anything to damage our baby, I will kill you." Damn, I feel like shit. I didn't know she was pregnant, otherwise I would have cut her some slack. I look at Masha and apologize. "Hey, I'm sorry for being such a bitch. Please forgive me." She replies, "Maria, I do not think that you and I can ever be friends. However, I do not think we must be enemies." I apologize, "I'm truly sorry. Look, all I want to do is to get some sleep. I'm lonely and haven't slept well since Linus has been gone." Jack takes Masha to their room. I head to my room and wish that Linus would at least call me. Men, they are so inconsiderate. Present, Linus, Matt, and Jim, somewhere in Texas. We're driving like crazy, passing trucks and cars trying to catch Ben, but I come to my senses and question, how in the hell do we even know what sort of vehicle Ben is in? Matt and Jim think, and Jim answers, "Shit, I don't have a clue." Matt adds, "The hell if I know. I thought you were the brains of this outfit." I order, "Pull over and let's think this through." Jim pulls over and I start. "Okay, I think what Ben destroyed was the makings of a roadblock and ambush. Now the big question is, what they were trying to stop." Jim gives Matt a stupid look. Matt gives Jim an even more stupid look. I slap my head and swear, "Damn, I guess I am the brains of this outfit. The way I figure this, they were going to stop a semi. What do you guys think?" Jim agrees. "Hell yes, that has to be it. Come on, let's stop all the semis and search them." Matt finally says something smart. "Jim, there's no way in hell we can stop the semis. They would run our butts over." I add, "Okay, Ben's probably on a semi. You two check the maps and find the closest town while I give Jens a call." Present, Jens, at the cabin. Damn, this isn't how I dreamed living at our cabin would be. This place is a frickin' three-ring circus crossed with an insane asylum. I just get Maria calmed down, during which I find out Daddy took Evelyn somewhere. Why the hell Maria didn't find out where the somewhere was, I don't know. I'm back in my warm bed petting Sharik when the damn phone rings. I look, see it's Linus, jump out of bed and answer, "Did you find Ben?" There's a bit of a pause, and he says, "Well, not really." I complain, "What sort of answer is that? Either you found him or you didn't." He explains, "Well, we came across what looked to be a hastily put together ambush roadblock, and all the bad guys had been killed. It sure felt like it was Ben's doing." I think for a moment and question, "Why exactly do you think it was Ben's work?" He replies, "Well, the shots were sort of really well placed." I am damn tired of his beating around the bush, so I continue, "Did any of you take pictures with your cell phones?" He responded, No, we didn't think about that." I am frustrated as hell, so I order, "Linus, you're better than this. Stop thinking about Maria and get your head in this mission. Now close your eyes and describe to me, in detail, what you saw." As he tells me what he saw, it gets me excited, and I say, "Linus, I could give you a kiss." He interrupts, "Jens, the main reason I called is we think Ben is on one of the semis, but we're not sure what to do next. I think and offer, well, why don't you head to the closest truck stop and see if you find him? I will wake up Jack and Liz. We will talk it over and check to see if Samantha has any news." Linus answers, "Okay, Jens, that sounds like a plan." I giggle as I head off to interrupt Jack, Liz, and Maria. Yeah, it's nice being the alpha bitch for this pack. Present, Tom, Byron, and Inga, on a chartered jet headed to Venezuela. Byron and Inga are flapping their gums like they're old friends. Then Byron asks, "You don't by any chance play chess?" I was playing Tom earlier, but he's not much of a challenge. She shot him one of those devastating grins and replies, "Yes, I certainly play," and I could sense that Tom wasn't much of a chess player. I complain, "Oh yeah, I might not be able to beat you at chess, but I could kick your butt all over this plane in poker." She turns, grins, and replies, "That sounds like a challenge, and then all three of us could play." Byron waffles, "Oh, no thank you. I sure don't want to play Tom in poker." Inga gives him a quizzical look and questions, "So Byron, is Tom really that good at poker?" Byron laughs, "Yeah, I've lost my shirt to him a few times." I challenge, "So Missy, what do you say? You want to play some poker, or are you afraid of losing your shirt?" She gives me a grin and challenges me right back. I am interested only if we could make it more interesting. I suggest, "Okay, how about strip poker?" She licks her lips, grins, and accepts. That would be divine. Suddenly, I feel like I am the only piece of meat in a tiger's cage. Flashback, Jack, in Moscow 1 week later. One lonely as hell week in Russia, and it isn't anything like I thought it would be. Here I am alone again, like I have been every night. I never figured that I'd need to speak Russian since I assumed I would hang out with Ben. But Ben is out having a hell of a time with his new Spetsnaz friends, and I'm stuck here without even a decent damn TV station to watch. I did venture out once at night, and promptly got lost. It was embarrassing as hell that my FSB escorts had to take me back to the hotel. Hell, where are all the Russian women I thought I would meet? Oh well, at least I have some damn good vodka. Even though it's still not yet winter, it's cold enough at night that I can keep my vodka cold outside. I open the window, pull it in off the sill, unscrew the cap, and take a big swig. Shit, I had such a dream on the flight over here of meeting a special woman and spending, well, the rest of my life with her, and I'm upset as hell because it seems like it was just another dream. I unscrew the lid, take another good swig and ponder in despair. At least I have the vodka. Flashback, Ben, in Moscow. What a hell of a great week. I'm in heaven. Russia is even better than I thought it would be. I made friends with the Spetsnaz immediately. We train like hell during the day, then party like hell at night. I only wish Jack was here. I don't understand why he stays in the hotel room so much. Shit, he's turned into some kind of hermit. Wow, here comes a couple of new women. Flashback, Masha, in Moscow. This mission has been more difficult than I imagined. I have observed the SGTS training. However, when the evening comes, I can only find Sergeant Blaine while Sergeant Reynolds is absent. So earlier in the day, I hired some help, Yelena. We spent the afternoon reviewing our plan, and I emphasized what would happen if she deviated from the plan. We've arrived at the bar Sergeant Blaine frequents, located him at his normal location, and closed upon our prey. The plan was working perfectly, and I watched as Sergeant Blaine's eyes were mechanically attached to us. We were almost collocated with him when, as typically happened, the Spetsnaz intercepted us and started flirting with us. I leaned over, whispered in my hired help's ear, and we began our deception. She yelled, "Leave me alone, you brutes." I added to the commotion, "Someone please help." They laughed and began to call us vulgar names, typical Russian men, but it had the desired effect. Sergeant Blaine leapt from his bar stool, came up to us, and questioned, in excellent Russian, "Are these men bothering you?" I responded, "Thank you. Yes, they are." He turned and yelled at the Spetsnaz, "Can't you tell these women are ladies? Leave them alone, or you will have to answer to me." I inwardly smirked because I knew he had already defeated the best of them in manual combat. They laughed, slapped him on the back, and returned to their table. Yelena played her part perfectly. She hugged his arm and said, "You are my hero. Let me buy you a drink." I maneuvered us toward a free booth, and we slid in with Sergeant Blaine between us as Yelena was pressed tightly against him. I alerted a waitress, ordered a round of vodka, then leaned over to pass her 1,000 rubles and whispered, "Keep bringing drinks until I tell you to stop." We were getting comfortable when the nightly entertainment began. Flashback, Ben, in Moscow. Damn, I lucked out tonight and landed the hottest woman in the bar, Yelena, and her almost as hot friend Masha. It was all I could do to keep from laughing since I and my new Spetsnaz friends worked out a plan where they would accost my target women. Then I would save them, and the women would be grateful to me. I looked at my Spetsnaz friends' table, and they raised a toast to me. Yelena couldn't keep her hands and body off me. If she was any closer, I'd be inside her. But Masha was a bit more conservative. It was a little early to ask, but I thought Jack and I were going to get really lucky tonight. Yeah, nothing like bagging a beauty for my best friend. I wondered how thankful he would be. We had a great time drinking and laughing, and I was getting ready to ask if they would like to come back to my place. When the nightly entertainment started, the rat races. Damn, I loved Moscow. Some poor scumsucker caught some wild rats during the day, and then each night they would race them on a special track, and everyone bet on them. The announcer stated, "We have spared no expense to bring you the biggest rats in Moscow." It was our cue, and we all yelled, other than the politicians. Then we laughed. The announcer continued, "So come up, pick your favorite rat, and ladies and gentlemen, place your bets." Yelena musically suggested, "Let's go pick out a favorite rat." And we all headed toward the holding pens. Tonight's group of rats was especially nasty looking. I swear some of them were almost as big as a cat. They seemed agitated and bit at the cages. Yelena pointed to one medium-sized brown rat and remarked, "That is my favorite rat. I will bet on him." Masha pointed at a huge, grotesque, and practically malformed rat and stated, "I like the one over there, and I will bet on it." I saw a white rat that looked confused, was running in circles chasing its tail, and began to laugh. Yelena questioned, "Binchik, why are you laughing?" I stated, "That rat. He reminds me of Major M, who is my superior officer." Both of the ladies giggled. "Have you ever noticed how sexy a giggle can be?" Yelena questioned, "So you will place your bet on him?" I laughed, "Hell no. I want to win, and anyone that bets on that rat is bound to lose. Again, the giggles erupted. I looked over the rats carefully. Having been exposed to many rats in my life, I relied on my vast experience and finally picked one. Yelena boldly promised, if your rat wins, you can have me as the prize. That sounded good to me, so I added, and if your rat wins, you can have me as the prize. We went up to the window and placed our bets. Flashback, Masha, in Moscow. So far, Yelena has been perfect and has performed her job magnificently. Sergeant Blaine and she have all but bonded, and I am sure that is a foregone conclusion for later this evening. I had hoped to leave for the SGTS domicile earlier, but the rat race distracted us. The delay was fortunate because I needed to fortify myself with more vodka before I could attempt completion of this odious mission. It wasn't that Sergeant Reynolds wasn't attractive, but he was old, much older than my normal assignments. I observed Sergeant Blaine and Yelena and secretly wished he was my assignment. But after Miranda's failure, my superiors deemed Sergeant Blaine unassailable. I knew, however, if Miranda had been less forthright with Sergeant Blaine and pursued a more coy approach, she could have captured him. We collocated adjacent to the rat race track as the races commenced. At least I didn't need to worry about the Sedenkina twins interrupting, and so far I had glorious reports of their missions as they were extremely busy. I was snapped out of my gathering of wool when something very unexpected and dangerous occurred. Flashback, Ira and Mira, in Israel. 7 days in Israel, and this was our 7th mission. The other missions were disappointingly easy, and Mira applied an American euphemism to them when she complained. Marinka, our other missions were akin to firing at flounder in a firkin. I retorted, Marinka, this mission provides a greater challenge. It appears as if our adversaries have cognate they are being pursued. Mira grinned and responded with a different euphemism. Irinka, the amount of time expended for them to cognate, that fact shows their cable-operated building ascension devices do not traverse to the highest floors. I grinned at Mira and agreed. Finally, we will have some challenge. Is it time yet for our secret weapon? She countermanded. Irinka, I know you desire to impart a valuable lesson to this golden horde in reference to their abusive treatment of their females. However, now is not the time for that ploy. Look, here comes our adversary now. Yes, our target slowly slipped out of the building as I softly giggled and stated, he reminds me of a rat. Marika finished, leaving its abode. We slowly raised our rifles, and Mira whispered a warning. Ira, this is a trap. Flashback, Major M, undisclosed base. After my sergeant told me of his suspicions, I rose from my chair and started pacing around the room to think about the situation. I finally turned to him and challenged, those are damn big allegations. Do you have any proof? He replied, I have no direct proof, the sort you can take to the bank. But analyze it. How in the hell did Sergeant Reynolds and Sergeant Blaine just happen to show up where we were? And further, why in the hell did the operators of Baskerville release us and the Sedenkina twins far enough apart so they couldn't catch us? I'm certain Sergeant Reynolds and Sergeant Blaine were the operators of Baskerville. I paced some more and thought, the sergeant could be right, but there were some problems. I countered, Sergeant, if you are correct and Sergeant Blaine and Sergeant Reynolds were the operators of Baskerville, where the hell did Baskerville come from? I'm damn sure the Iraqis couldn't have made anything like Baskerville, so that only leaves the SGTS to build it. I'm not sure either of them has the mechanical aptitude to create a vehicle from scratch. The sergeant parried. Well, Sergeant Reynolds sure as hell doesn't, but Sergeant Blaine grew up on a ranch, and those ranch kids can do amazing things sometimes. He might have been able to modify an existing vehicle to create Baskerville. I thought some more, made a decision, and ordered, Sergeant, find the best damn photos we have of Baskerville and get the techs working on the possibility it was a modification of an existing vehicle in our database of vehicles in that godforsaken country. The debriefing was over. He stood and left while I continued to pace and thought about his supposition. If he was correct, and we could prove it, then the damn stranglehold the SGTS had on me would be removed. In fact, I would have their butts over a barrel. Present, Stacy, in the bushes. I empty Ben's golden rifle into the damn tiger, and thank God, as the sneaky scumsucker finally dies right at my feet. I hear a noise, turn with my rifle, and see it's Samantha and the whole darn news crew. I really wish this rifle held more rounds, because I would go out in a blaze of glory and take that damn nosy Samantha bitch with me. I really hate her, because she works for the Jennifer bitch who's keeping Ben and I apart. I lower the rifle, then there's a hell of a noise behind them. They turn with their weapons, and hell no. They'd better not. I pull one of the revolvers and shuffle the best I can with my pants still down around my ankles. Present, Samantha, transporting Stacy. When there's a hell of a noise behind us, the whole team turns as Stacy's horses crash through the bushes. They look like rabid, runaway freight trains that are headed right at us. The men prepare to fire when, I can't believe it. Present, Stacy, in the bushes. I put that damn nosy Samantha bitch in a headlock, press the revolver against her head, and yell, "If you shoot my horses, I'm going to cap this little bitch." Everyone turns, looks at me, and Samantha's damn husband yells, "No one puts a gun to my wife's head." Then he charges at me with his wheelchair. Present, Samantha, transporting Stacy. Things are totally out of control. The crazy Stacy bitch has her arm around my neck and a gun against my head, and my darling husband is racing toward her with his wheelchair. I am pissed off because no one puts a gun to my head and someone is going to get hurt if I don't do something. So I twist away from her and punch her in the nose. Present, Stacy, in the bushes. That damn little bitch just punched me in the nose. No one does that to me. I yell, "All right, bitch, it's time you get your bony butt kicked." She taunts, "Well, come on, you fat prima donna." Her husband yells, "Sam, she's mine. Back off." Samantha responds, "Like hell she's yours. I'm tired of this bossy prima donna bitch, and I'm going to whip her butt and teach her a lesson. You men stay out of this, and that's an order." We begin to fight, and I realize that fighting with your pants around your ankles is damn hard. So I begin to think, what would Ben do? The answer immediately hit me, and I kick off my pants. When they hit the bony bitch in the face, I charge. Present, Frank, watching the fight. Shit. Two women fighting is hot as hell, and it's even better because one of them is my sexy young wife and the other is naked from the waist down. I check and realize I've had the camera on the whole time. I figure what the hell, bring it up to my eye, and begin filming this for real. It's not every day you get to see your wife rolling around in the dirt with a half-nude woman. They're women, and it's not like they are really going to hurt each other. They are pulling hair, punching, biting, kicking, and swearing like sailors. My brother Emmanuel comes over and says, "I'd sure like a copy of this video." I answer, "Shit, we're going to make a fortune with this video on the internet." Emmanuel questions, "Did you notice what the horses are doing?" I answer, "No, what are they doing?" He responds, "They're stomping the hell out of the dead tiger." I look up, see the horses, and notice something else. I ask Emmanuel, who's watching the news van. He looks around and yells, "Shit. Not again." Present, Stacy, in the bushes. What the hell? Did I just hear something about this fight being taped? I decide it's time to end this bullshit fight, so I do what Ben would do. I knock that damn nosy news bitch out. Jump up and see all the scumsucker men are leering at me, and sure enough the camera is running and the little bitch's husband is filming the hell out of me. I quickly cover myself and yell, "You damn pervert. I want that tape." He laughs and argues, "Like hell you're getting this tape." I announce, "If I don't get that tape there's going to be hell to pay because you didn't have my permission to tape me." Emmanuel runs back into the clearing and announces, "Forget the damn tape. Give it to her, because we have a bigger issue. Someone stole the news van." Present, Linus, Matt, and Jim, somewhere in Texas. We find the closest truck stop, pull in and stop, gear up and head inside when we realize we might have made a major mistake. Present, Ben, somewhere in Texas. The truck begins to slow, which wakes me up, and I'm sure glad it did. The damn faces were back in full force. You would think with fewer of them, they would be less of a problem. But hell no. They are more insistent than ever about their retribution. I open my eyes, see we're at a truck stop, and Stinky Pete comments, "Damn boy, that must have been some hellacious nightmare. Do you have those every time you sleep?" I reply, "It's not really something I want to talk about. Are we close to Dallas?" He drawls, "Yeah, this is the last good truck stop before Dallas. Now bring your gear, since it's time I buy you a meal." We jump out of the truck cab, head toward the truck stop, and I question, "Won't the other drivers worry about me if they see me like this?" He smiles and declares, "Not if you're with me, they won't. However, if you had walked in by yourself." He doesn't get a chance to answer as we're at the door of the truck stop. He walks in with me behind him. At first, everyone yells out his name. Then they see me, and my situational awareness kicks into overdrive. Present, Jens, at the cabin. Damn, if I'm not sleeping, then no one's sleeping. Sharik and I head to Maria's room. I bang on the door and yell, "Maria, we're having a meeting. Be in the library in 5 minutes." Yeah, that was fun as hell. Now to act like even more of a pain in the butt. I get to Liz and Bernie's door, pound on it, and yell, "Liz, we need to have a meeting. Be in the library in 4 minutes." Now to wake up Jack and Masha, but their room is the furthest away. Present, Jack, at the cabin. Hell's bells. Jens is making enough noise to raise the dead, and has even disturbed Ivan. Masha is comforting him, but I'm not happy. I listen to her coming down the hallway, and get an idea. Present, Jens, at the cabin. What the heck is that? Where did that wire come from? I bend down to grab it. The door flies open, and Jack yells, "There's a meeting in the library in 3 minutes." It scares the crap out of us, so I stumble backward and fall on but while Sharik is barking like crazy. Present, Mira, Ira, and Alexei, at the cabin. Our auditory units have been assaulted by a cacophony of noises in the hallway. It would appear Ms. Donaldson is being her customary pestiferous self. I remark, I should have terminated her when I was presented the opportunity. Ira responds, Marinka, we both cognate you could not risk the ire of your paramour. Alexei proffers, my sisters, I would relish the chance to rectify that situation. I smile at my younger brother and advise, Alexei, Ms. Donaldson would be too formidable an opponent for your first termination mission. He laughs and challenges, well, at least let me have some fun. I affirm with cranial motion and watch as he prepares a practical prank. Present, Jens, at the cabin. Damn it, Jack scares the hell out of me, and Sharik then, he stands there and laughs. Now that was funny. I flip him off and say, look, we need you and Masha in the library now. He continues to grin and responds, okay, we will meet you there in a minute. Sharik and I walk back down the hallway, draw adjacent to the twins and Alexei's room. And son of a frickin' bitch, I'm going to kill someone. I fling the door open and Alexei, Mira and Ira are laughing like crazy. To add insult to injury, Jack, Masha and Ivan walk up and Ivan gleefully announces, lady look like clown. I yell, which of you scumsuckers did this because I'm going to kick your butt. Ivan comes out with, Gastard. Jack honks that damn horn which scares the hell out of me. Ivan begins to cry and Sharik begins to bark. Present, Mira, Ira, and Alexei at the cabin. We are come over with mirth from Alexei's practical prank. We watched as Alexei took an envelope of manila, filled it full of cream of shaving for our lower bipedal units, and powder of talcum for our derrieres, then placed the open end under the door. He applied his auditory senses to the door, and when he cognate Ms. Donaldson was adjacent to the door, he stomped on the envelope of manila. When Ms. Donaldson threw open our door, she and her canine were covered with cream of shaving and powder of talcum. Ms. Donaldson issues a threat, but we do not respond, so she continues, I bet it was that damn brother of yours. I'm going to spank the hell out of him. She is infuriated, and we correctly sense Alexei is in danger. We both stand in defiance, and I commence, Ms. Donaldson, you will not. Ira adds, touch our brother, or you will be terminated. It was only a practical prank. I finish, and all that was damaged was your pride. You deserved humiliation after creating enough noise to disturb the peaceful respite of the terminated. Alexei questions, Ms. Donaldson, would you like for us to attend your vociferously announced meeting in the library? Present, Jens, at the cabin. Damn it all. I have lost control in my own house. I know it was that bratty Alexei that pranked me, and I want to spank him so hard he won't sit for a week. However, his sisters present a serious problem that I'm not ready to deal with right now. I need to talk with Liz and have her get them out of the way so I can exact retribution because no one pranks me in my house. Oh yeah, and I need to do something about Jack because he's out of control too. I glare at the three of them and start. As far as I'm concerned, you three can take a flying foo. I never get to finish because Jack honks that damn horn of his which scares the crap out of everyone. Then he orders. Now that's one word I don't want my son learning. Tonight has been an unmitigated disaster. I shake my head and announce, I'm going to the library. Join me at your pleasure. When I get to the library, Liz, Bernie, and Maria see me and start to smirk, adding insult to injury. I threaten, don't you three start on me. I've had enough shit for tonight. Present, Liz, at the cabin. Jens and Sharik walk into the library and look like they were attacked by a shaving cream can. We fight back some serious laughter because it's evident Jens is mad as a wet hen. Jack, Masha, Ivan, Alexei, Mira, and Ira follow her. Someone, my guess is Jack, played a practical joke on her. I will need to work to calm her down later, but for right now, she needs to be distracted. I question, okay Jens, what can we do for you? Present, Tom, Byron, and Inga, on a charter jet headed towards Venezuela. Shit, I've all but lost all of my clothes. My shirt's gone, my shoes, and my socks. The only thing that's left is my pants. That woman, I swear she lost her dress on purpose just to throw me off. She's sitting there in her undergarments, shifting around and making sure to lean over in ways that keep grabbing my attention. Byron, never missing a chance to chime in, says with a grin, Tom, it looks like you're losing. I shoot him a glare and retort, at least I'm still in the game. He laughs, but not for much longer. I'm sure I've got her beat this time, so I throw down my hand and announce, full house, read them and weep. So how about that bra coming off? She giggles, sorry Mr. Tom, but a full house does not beat four of a kind. It appears you have lost your remaining piece of clothing. I whine, how did you know I might not have underwear under my pants? She giggles and replies, Mr. Tom, it's my job to know everything about you and Mr. Byron. Byron adds, Tom, you know she's been cheating, don't you? I look at her, she laughs to confirm it, and I whine, I should have known, damn sneaky bitch. I'm not taking off my pants. She answers, thank you, Mr. Tom. Flashback, Ben, in Moscow. Damn, this was wild. Yelena was gripping my arm so tightly it had to hurt her. The rat races had just started when some drunk leaned too far over the track, lost his balance, and crashed right onto it, completely wrecking it. The rats didn't hesitate. They scattered into the room, biting anyone in their path. Yelena screamed, "Help me! Save me!" Without thinking, I threw her over one shoulder, grabbed Masha over the other, and bolted for the exit, kicking aside rats and shoving past the panicked crowd. Nothing was going to ruin the night, especially not one of the girls getting bitten. Flashback, Masha, in Moscow. I was impressed with Sergeant Blaine's physical prowess and ability to seize control of a terrible situation. When the drunken man destroyed the track, the rats were whipped into a frenzy. They tried to escape but thought any human was their enemy and started to inflict serious wounds on the patrons. I was concerned I would have to take action which might jeopardize my role when Sergeant Blaine took control of matters. I looked across his back to Yelena and smiled, and she smiled back. Yes, she was going to get lucky tonight, and I was going to do my duty for my country. Flashback, Jack, in Moscow. Damn, I was just falling asleep when Ben barged into the room, making a hell of a noise and flipped on the light. I sat up in bed and quickly noticed he wasn't alone. He was with two of the most beautiful women I had ever seen. The blonde one was a little young for me, but the other one. They were speaking in Russian, so I cleared my voice and questioned, "What the hell is going on?" They all began talking at the same time, this time in English, but it was almost as bad as when they were speaking Russian. Finally, the older woman said, "Sure, I will tell the story." Ben and the younger girl began making out, the lucky scumsucker. While the older woman said, "My name is Masha. We were at the local bar when a drunken person broke the rat track." I interrupted, "Rat track? What the hell is a rat track?" She politely asked, "Do you mind if I sit on your bed while I explain everything?" I thought, hell yes, you can sit on my bed, or even in my bed, I don't care, but I answered, "Sure, that's fine with me." Flashback, Masha, in Moscow the next morning. I never commingle saliva and relate the specifics, but shockingly, I am in love. I lay in the perspiration-soaked bed while Jack was at the stove, in the nude, preparing me breakfast and attempting to sing a song. I studied him and realized I had never encountered a man such as this before. He was the most tender, caring, and concerned lover I had ever experienced, and for once I was completely sated. I was also thankful that Yelena escorted Sergeant Blaine back to our room so Jack and I could enjoy the privacy we required. However, as I watched him, I had troubling thoughts. He looked at me and asked. Flashback, Jack, in Moscow the next morning. Damn, what a hell of a night. Masha was a hell of a woman and an incredible lover. I'd never had better. Now to impress her with my culinary and vocal skills. But I glance at her, see that she's frowning and asked, "What's wrong, Masha?" She started to answer when Ben flew into the room and announced, "Damn it, Jack, we're going to be late." He took one look at me, another look at Masha in my bed, blushed, and muttered a kind of apology, "Sorry, I didn't know. Jack, we need to change and get going." I looked at Masha and made a quick decision. Ben, it's not like they really need me. Tell them I'm sick today. Flashback, Ben, in Moscow the next morning. Wow. From the looks of things, Jack got real lucky, and me. Well, Yelena was beautiful, but she wasn't that good in the sack. It felt like she was only doing it because she had to. Yeah, like she was a hooker or something. All the right moves, but none of the emotion. Then when I woke up in the morning, she was gone, and left a note, which said she needed to get to work. I averted my eyes, grabbed the gear I needed, and ran into the bathroom to change. Flashback, Masha, in Moscow the next morning. I looked at Jack and smiled. He looked at me, pointed to the bathroom, and we both began to laugh. How could I have ever contemplated the prospect of preferring Sergeant Blaine? He is a mere boy, and my Jack is all man. When I uncovered myself and motioned to him, he almost flew into the bed, and we began again, while I conveniently forgot about the problems which I now possess. Flashback, Ben, in Moscow the next morning. Damn, it sounded like Jack and Masha. No, it couldn't be, not while I'm here. I slipped open the bathroom door, and shit, they are doing it. I slowly crept out of the apartment and headed to training. I sure didn't like having to lie for Jack. But he's right. They really don't need him to teach them spotting. They do it the same way, just not as well. Flashback, Ira and Mira, in Israel. Yes, my observant sister noticed that our intended target was a deception. I slowly assessed the area and oculated many men on the rooftops. This was a trap, and we almost actuated it. I looked at Mira and stated, "Sister, now is the time for our ploy." We slowly slipped into burqas, which concealed not only our identities, it also concealed our weapons. We would escape. However, this mission would be our first failure. I was not joy-overed that we did not accomplish this mission. However, I was thankful that we did not become food of worms. We slipped off the roof, down the stairs, and I thought to question, Irinka, if our target is not here, and all these armed men who might defend him are located here, She finished, Marinka. You are correct. He persists at his primary location and remains lightly guarded. We reached the street and departed post-haste toward his previous location. Why I was hesitant to use the ploy before now seemed silly. With the burkas, we could freely travel without attracting undue attention. However, the compensation for free travel was the certainty of being overly hot, itchy, and sweaty. We arrived at his primary location, entered the building without problem, and transversed to the target's office. My katana eliminated the guard outside the office. We rapidly discarded our burkas, entered the office, and our silenced .22 pistols terminated all inside occupants, including our target. Ira smiled at me and declared, "It is my turn to mark the wall." She expertly wrote in Hebrew, "Angels of Death." We regained our burkas and slowly departed the building. The Angels of Death had struck again. Flashback, Major M, undisclosed base. I sat and seriously thought about my SGTs, supposition and allegations, and wondered if he could be right. There were a hell of a lot of questions that needed to be answered if he was correct. The biggest one was where the hell did Baskerville come from, and then who the hell drove it? The sergeant seemed to think that Sergeant Blaine could have modified an existing vehicle because he grew up on a ranch. I just happened to have the SGTs record on my desk because I hoped to find some way to reverse the awkward situation they had me in, and I opened it. I hadn't spent much time on the early part of the record, so I flipped to the front. Now that's interesting. Sergeant Blaine joined the Corps instead of going to prison. I decided to make some calls to see what I could find out. An hour later, I leaned back in my chair, looked at copies of the many traffic tickets Sergeant Blaine had for speeding. Damn, one of them was for over 140 miles per hour. His family lawyer had kept him out of trouble, so Sergeant Blaine might have had the skills to pilot Baskerville. And he had to have some mechanical aptitude to be able to keep a high-performance car like that one running. But still, where the hell did Baskerville come from? My thoughts were interrupted by a knock on the door. I yelled, "Come in," and this had better be damn important. My sergeant walked in and stated, "Sir, I think we figured it out." Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.